Hey guys, welcome to Samson's World, the podcast. Today on my show, I have a very special comedian friend I just met recently at a comedy club, but he is an up-and-coming comedian. I wouldn't even say up-and-coming. This guy is killing this damn game. He's a social media star as well. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Mr. ASHWIN Jacobs.
Woo! Yeah, that was awesome. Yeah, welcome to the
Well, thank
show.
you for having me, Samson.
Great, yeah.
You're welcome. Do you like the, that's me just encouraging
Yeah,
you.
that was awesome.
That's
yeah,
not,
welcome to the show.
It's a positive heckle.
It's a positive heckle, exactly. Now, Ashwin, welcome to my show. We just met a little bit ago, and so I don't really know a ton about you. We were talking before the show that you actually do real estate.
I do some real estate,
Which is good, and this is good. Comedians, and you can when we're talking, look at, your camera more, so the people, they're getting your best, this is my best look. If I turn to the side, it's just fat gulch, but if I give them the straight on, but you're into real estate besides doing comedy, correct?
Well, there's very few jobs that you can translate the skills of comedy into, and real estate, you just deal with a lot of abuse, and occasionally you try and make people laugh.
Right, which is pretty much comedy as well, same thing. Now, on your weekends, is that what you're mostly doing? Like you're showing houses and properties, or you were saying you have Airbnb rentals and stuff like that?
I have Airbnb rentals. I have properties that I show. Surprisingly, in LA, nobody does showings on the weekends. It's mostly in Monday through Friday.
Really? Which is, okay, that's kind of nice to hear. That's true because, and you were saying you kind of do Airbnbs for like rappers and stuff like that, or?
No, I do buy-sell deals sometimes for hip-hop clients, and then
What is a buy-sell deal?
when they want to buy or sell a house.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. And so are there any rappers that you can tell us who you've bought or sold a house with?
Not really. I did have a client that was a doctor buy a house that was a recording studio house that everybody from Drake to Ghana have used as a recording studio house.
Wow, that's pretty cool. And how did you get into that? Like, are you from Los Angeles or?
No, dude, I'm from Boston. I grew up in Boston.
Boston, okay.
Worked for Playboy magazine. That's how I came out to California originally. I worked for Mr. Hugh Hefner.
Oh, wow. I see your shirt. Show the people your shirt. They can't see the purple. Yeah.
I'm wearing a Playboy shirt right now.
Really? So you worked for Playboy, the magazine, or what was it? What were
I
you doing?
produced parties at the Playboy Mansion as well as did some stuff with the magazine.
Damn it. Why are we just now meeting, Ashwin? This was a total waste of fucking... I feel like I should have met you like over a decade ago, or when was this?
2008 to 2012.
Damn it. I wasn't doing it. I could have been there. I could have been at the parties. And so you were organizing the parties. How was that?
It was a very cool life experience, especially for a 19-year-old boy when I first started.
I can only imagine. How did you get that job?
I got recruited in Florence to produce a party at the Playboy Mansion. From there, I got hired by Playboy's college marketing division, did a lot of brand releases. If you remember the Playboy tanning sticker, I helped with the launch of that, which is a very cool project.
I do remember the tanning sticker. Wow. Look at who I'm sitting with. And this is terrible. I should have done more research. Would I have been able to find that online, though? Or?
Oh, for sure.
Okay, cool.
Now
so
the
you're
people
Mr.
that wore
Playboy.
those, the girls that wore those Playboy tanning stickers, now they need facial cream by 8 p.m. They're moms.
They are moms, but that's still... So you're not doing any work for Playboy anymore?
Playboy is a very different company right now, so I haven't really done anything with Playboy in a while. I'd love to do a Playboy comedy show. That'd be fun.
Oh, now you're talking. I mean, they had that Playboy After Dark. Wasn't that a comedy show, I think?
Was it? I
Back
don't
in
know
the
anybody
day.
over there.
I want to say, I think Kate Quigley, a comedian, was working on that years ago. But yeah, it's funny. Playboy is probably defunct now. It's not the same thing it used to be. Nobody's collecting, nobody's looking at porno magazines anymore.
Well, Playboy alienated their core audience, in my personal opinion. I think it went against the Midwest heterosexual male.
Yeah, that's a good point. Guys like me.
Mm-hmm. So it switched from that sort of prerogative to everything that a straight man stands for is kind of gray area, and then it became a OnlyFans type competitor.
Got it. And then you can't compete with OnlyFans at all.
And Playboy had great articles. I'm going to be honest. I think
No,
the journalistic integrity of Playboy
course.
was amazing.
That was, I mean, look, that's always the cliched joke about Playboy. I read it for the articles. You know, all the men could be like, "No, honey, this is a quality magazine. Why don't you read it?" And then we're like, "Oh, this is a good article." And then there's also some tits. I mean, it's really the best of both worlds. You're educating yourself, then you're taking a break with some tits and ass, and then you're back to educating yourself. You know,
Yeah, it's a balance.
it's balance. That's what life is all about. Now, Ashwin, what is your background here? So you've been in Los Angeles. You grew up in Boston.
Grew up in Boston.
Okay.
Moved to Florence, Italy.
Oh, okay. So when you said Firenze, I was just like,
Firenze.
"What's Florence, baby?" So I studied in Florence, Italy, my junior year in college. Io ho studiato in Firenze per 4 mesi. You know, a little more. I stayed. You know,
Which school did you go to?
it was called Fairfield, I think, Connecticut. It was a io parlo poco italiano.
Okay.
You know, I'm best at ordering food.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I went to Lorenzo de Medici in Florence, Italy,
Okay. What year? So what? You did that in college, or what was that?
2007.
Oh man. Oh, wait, how old are you now?
35.
35. Okay, so I'm older than you. But that's amazing. That's what I did. So how long were you in Florence?
I was supposed to stay there for a month. I ended up staying there for about 4.
Wow, that's what I was. I was in about second semester junior year of college, and then I stayed into the summer. So I ended up staying there about 6 to 8 months. And oh my God, that's an amazing time, people. If you can go to Florence, Italy, it's pronounced Firenze. You know, us Americans, we say Florence. It's Florence. It's like, and it's weird because it's spelled F-I-R-E-N-C-E, but we spell it F-L-O-R-E-N-C-E, you know, Florence. So we're just dumbasses. But there's this place called Antico Noes. Shout out to Massimo, is the owner. And I don't know if you know in Florence if you're facing the Duomo, right? Mm-hmm. And you know how there's 2 roads on either side that kind of diverge into, there's like an alley way, and there's some restaurants in there, and it's like where they say where kind of the drunks hang out and stuff like that.
For sure.
Well, that's where Antico Noes, this restaurant is. It has the best paninis I've ever had, and just some of the best Italian food.
Oh, I love that.
I love fucking. They used to call me Sam the Sandwich Man because I would bring all the foreign exchange students to the sandwich shop, and they would give me free sandwiches because I was, you know, doing all their PR.
You're a sandwich promoter.
I was. I mean, early on, but that's pretty interesting. So you were in Firenze, and then you worked at Playboy. What did you do? And what is your nationality, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm Indian by
You're
way
Indian.
of Boston.
Straight up. So you're straight up Indian from Boston.
I'm an Indian guy with a Boston accent.
Yeah, is that hard at all? Because Boston, I kind of think of as kind of like a, you know, white collar kind of, what's this, you know, kind of a little racist city. I mean, I'm from St. Louis, so white people are pretty racist in general, kind of that. But did you experience a lot of that in Boston? Or?
I'd say Boston's a great place if you like education, sports, or winter sports.
Yep.
But there's just one rule, which is be white.
Be white, guys. Wow, that's hard. So that literally, that's a very truthful thing about Boston. It's just kind of, you got to fit into that category.
You got to fit into that category. You got to figure it out. A lot of things in life are you can either take a victim mentality or you can change your mentality and just move forward with what you can.
I like that. Now, see, it's interesting because I'm Jewish. I grew up in St. Louis, and a lot of times, honestly, I almost tried to not. People say, "Oh, you don't look Jewish, Sam," and I kind of went with that, and I didn't really tell people I was always Jewish. And I wonder, obviously, you being Indian, you can't really hide that, but did you feel like you had to kind of assimilate a little bit, or did you feel like, I don't know if your parents have an accent, or did you feel any way at all that you had to not be able to be yourself?
I have to show you this.
Okay,
you
here we
brought this
go.
up.
He's getting a picture out, guys. I like that. Because it's true. I mean, I don't think enough
This is
white
what I
people-
look like for the
Oh, that's
majority of
good.
my life.
Let me see. Oh, wow. You look pretty tough. You look like you could be any nationality there. Like you could be
Ethnically
Cuban,
ambiguous.
you could be Latino. I mean, look at that, folks. Can you see that? What's folks? I mean, wow. I mean, so that's crazy. You don't look like the same person in that picture.
I learned how to hide it, which was if I kept my hair super, super short, nobody could really ethnically figure out what I was.
Interesting. So you purposely kept your hair short like that.
Yeah, man, you don't want to turn 7-Eleven into 9-Eleven. That gets bad reactions.
Oh, that's a good joke. Do you use that in your set?
Sometimes I do, and I'm like,
Yeah.
Dude, if I ever bought a Porsche, I'd have to call it the 911. Just so if you know you do harm to me, you're going to wait in a long-ass line.
That's hilarious. That's good. And when did you start doing stand-up comedy?
Dude, so I did stand-up originally secretly. Nobody knew I was doing stand-up in Boston.
Okay.
Moved out here permanently in 2015, was managing athletes. I represented Terrell Owens, the NFL athlete.
Wow.
Gabby Hanna, she was a digital star, a variety of other influencers. And I realized for me, which was TV when movies was the main form of entertainment, was the future. I realized when social media started taking off and I saw social media influencers making the same amount of money as people did for a TV show.
Yeah.
It's a piece of digital real estate that if you can build up, you can define your value beyond just, being talented is I have an audience. So by representing a lot of these people, I learned a lot about social media. I built a big social media following, and then
Right, because you have how many? You have almost 250,000 followers or more?
I have 200-something thousand on Instagram. I had a top 20 podcast on iTunes before.
Jesus.
Charted above Oprah. I hit her up for a collab.
Wow.
She left me on scene.
Okay. What are you still? And you're still doing that podcast?
No, I haven't done the podcast since 2020.
Why the hell? Why? You're the top 20. I'm still doing this, and it's like negative 20. What are you doing?
I don't know how to edit, man. It's not my skill set.
Well, obviously, it's your skill set if you made it into the top 20.
I knew how to be a personality. I didn't know how to do all the back end stuff of editing, posting, all the content scheduling, clipping it.
Yeah, but how'd you get into top 20 then if you didn't know how to do any of that back end? Because it
I
seems
had a
like
production team. I had a full production team and a production studio and
okay.
people that did every aspect of the things that weren't on screen.
Wow. Why would you stop if it seemed so successful?
In 2020, the world was kind of falling apart. So
I see. So it was
the studio
COVID
shut
kind
down.
of. Okay.
Yeah, studio shut down around that period of time
Was that here in LA?
in LA.
Gosh, that's just crazy. And so are you actively saying like, hey, I need to get this shit back going? I mean, I'm sitting here just doing my podcast and, I had actually somebody today, I won't mention his name, but I asked if he could do the podcast and he said, well, I'm at this point I need to be strategic. I'm only doing podcasts at my level. And, and I took that and I said, okay, I totally respect that. And I don't want to offend you at all that you're doing a podcast at this level.
No, dude, the truth is.
But it is funny how people, I don't think a lot of people understand, like, you have to take such truthful things like that might hurt somebody's feelings, but I understand what he's saying. You know what I mean? He's an actor at a certain level who's needing to make strategic moves. And so you need to be on the podcasts that are strategically like a Bad Friends, Mark Norman, some of these popular, Joe Rogan obviously is, at the moment a more popular podcast, but.
You don't know what anybody's future holds.
Exactly.
The guy that's doing an open mic tomorrow could be the next Netflix superstar.
Exactly. And I think that's also a rich part about this business that people kind of ignore is like the person you might say, oh my God, that person's terrible. Why are they even doing this? A year later, you're like, oh man, that guy, that girl, like, yeah, you can't ever count anybody out because you don't know really what's under the hood. You don't know how hard of a worker somebody really is until they just all of a sudden you're like, oh shit,
I know some great comics that book every night of the week and they do the same set for 3 to 5 years.
Yes.
And I know kids that get up there and bomb 3 out of 5 shows, but they get a great hour-long set of material because they're willing to fail that much.
Right. Or what's an amazing anomaly to me now is I'm seeing people that get booked all the time and I've mostly just seen them bomb. And it's really amazing how that happens quite often.
I think it's a combination of wherewithal. Like for me, I get social anxiety and like the comedy scene because people are like, oh, you hang out with all these hilarious people all the time. And I'm like, most of us are balls of anxiety and stress.
Right.
It's an awkward situation asking someone about like, hey, could I get booked on your show? Or how do you do that? Because so much of this is secretive. Part of what I wanted to try and do is, since I have anxiety around that sort of thing, is like start a group chat on Instagram and then maybe take that to WhatsApp and then let people kind of just reach out and say, hey, I'm trying to film this sketch or I want to do this sort of show. Who wants to hop on? And try and build some more community around it that's more built on positivity instead of what you can do for me. Just throw out what you're looking for and then where you can help, just genuinely help people.
I think that's, and look, I've been doing this for over 20 years. And the one thing I always know is loyalty and consistency and authenticity is like, for me, that's everything. That it's funny how it's not obvious to people that when they see I've gotten an opportunity, or when they say I've gotten an opportunity, how quickly some of those people call you so quickly, and they'll just ask you blatantly, hey, can I get on your Netflix show that you have? You know, and it's like, well, I asked you a long time ago, can I get on a show? And you went dark. And look how quickly I respond back to you still, you know what I mean? Like, to even, and sometimes I feel like I'm too polite. Like, I'll politely tell people, yeah, no, sorry. Instead of telling them, you know, buzz off. Like, we're such opportunist comedians. We have to be, like you said, we have to ask to get booked. We have to, you know, find out about different opportunities. And some of us are just have no tact about it. You know, it's like they're not even your friend and they'll ask you for something when it's like, no, you have to build with people to be able to talk to them like that.
I think as a comic, you genuinely have to try, regardless of like, a lot of people are like, well, why would you try and bring your friends to a show? You can burn yourself out. And I'm like, ultimately, your goal isn't just to try and bring your personal friends and beg them to come to a show. It's how do you build a fan base?
Right.
How do you authentically get people that want to see you and will come and support you and will buy a ticket?
Yeah.
And also just people that will come and support you when you know that it's going to be a rougher show to kind of get going. Especially when you're trying something new. You know, the night that I met you, you're starting to do your own show, and you wanted to book some people that are up and coming, some people that are bigger. And I think that's a beautiful thing and a sentiment that you're giving people an opportunity, but also giving yourself more up at bats, because that's the nature of this game.
It was a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
That was my only show I got to do at that theater. I should name the theater. But yeah, I haven't, I'm like, I had a great sold out show there, but I got in trouble for liking an Instagram post at that theater, and then they didn't book me any more shows.
You like to post?
I like to post.
Oh.
Of a comedian who was in a wheelchair, who was mistreated at the club. And I just was on Instagram and I just liked the post.
Oh.
And they took my dates away.
That's rough. Comedy's also very political.
It's very, and you know, I've never talked about this publicly at all. Nobody watches really this podcast anyway, so I'm not that worried about it. But it is the shitty part of the business. Is like, we're trying as it is to just get booked at these clubs, and you know, it's like the slightest little thing, it's so political. You don't know who you cross. You know what I mean? And the goal is to not burn bridges at all. You know, but it's just funny how people don't really understand when people make it and they're successful. There's such another level to it of just fitting in a little bit is hard to do. You know,
I think fitting in is one part. I think it's how you treat your peers is another part, and then we're all bound to make mistakes. The nature of comedy is you're trying to make a controversial statement that's polarizing in one way or another. A lot of times it's meant in good fun, but when it crosses a boundary, being able to have an honest and open discussion with other parties and be able to get to a mutual compromise, I think is an important part of it.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, and at the end of the day, there's a lot of narcissists in this business by the nature of what we do. We, you know, want people to look at us. So, you know, that combination with, you know, depression, drugs, alcohol, you know, I was on the street one day walking and this person comes by me and I picked up this little conversation. They're like, I am so sick of vanity, ego, and cocaine problems. And I was like, yeah, that's LA in a nutshell, you know?
When we're up here just dying for 15 minutes, scratching our arms.
Literally, it's where, you know, and I always say that it's a pimp prostitute mentality where we're just, scratching our arms, dying for stage time. You know, we just want stage time. And these promoters, bookers, and comedy clubs are well aware of it. And that's why in LA you don't get paid shit to do comedy shows, because they know you need the stage time more than they need you, because there's so many comedians and they want the famous ones, you know?
I mean, I'm fortunate that I am a paid comedian in a lot of my shows in LA. Yeah. So like, I'm very blessed to be able to make money doing what I love. But by no means is it a livable salary if I'm just booking LA shows. I have to book the ones that are out of town, and those come a little bit fewer at this point in my career. Mostly because I want to try and book some of those right strategic acting opportunities, because that will get me booked in other markets that I'm not as well known in.
And is that more of your focus now, acting? Are you transitioning to that, or?
No, I mean, I'm definitely a stand-up first, but acting gives you an opportunity to get more stand-up opportunities.
Exactly.
It's a game. You got to learn how to market yourself. I think a lot of people overlook marketing and they view it as you just got to be funny. Part of the game is you have to be a marketer because at the end of the day, for the club to keep their lights on, you have to be able to sell tickets or bring people. And you got to be honest about what you're able to do. If the tickets aren't selling, be like, hey, I can try and bring some friends if you let me comp X amount to people.
Right.
And I think that's also something that there's a lot of value in that people discount a lot of times because if somebody told me I can bring 10 to 15 friends, which is granted that's a ridiculous amount for a lot of people to do, but if somebody tells me that and they're like, hey, I really would love like some stage time, I would definitely book them just because
of course
they're showing me that they care. I'm not going to really account, did you actually bring 10 to 15? But I will notice if they brought nobody.
Right. And that's something that, people might not know about comedy, but, most comedians, when we're booked on a show, we're not promoting at all. We might put the flyer up, but rarely, unless it's your own show, you're not trying to get your 10 to 15 to 20 people that you can get out. And so what happens is it's really lands on the comedy club or the booker to do it. So yeah, and traditionally, we call those shows bringer shows. You don't like to book a comedian because they can bring friends and then have them bomb. But so it's this kind of weird thing, but if every comic was responsible for bringing 5 people to a show, then it would, the shows would be more full, but then comedians are booked every night, so they can't be expected. But that's why, like you were saying, you have to have fans.
You got to build fan bases. I think you got to build fans. If you want to book at other shows, invite other bookers to your shows. Invite people that are in the industry. Invite other comics to support you. Don't try and sell a comic on a ticket. It's actually one of my biggest pet peeves when
you can't charge a comic.
It's like, hey, I want to go support some of my friends, and I have like certain like young comics that I've been nicer to that message me every day, being like, buy a ticket to my show at this one, and I'm like, dude, why are you doing this cringe thing to me?
Right. Yeah. Hit up the people you need to hit up, but don't ask me, the comedian, to come. Like, you're lucky if I'll get out to come see your show. So it's like I definitely just want to walk in and check it out and be free to leave if I want, but I don't want to get a ticket and go through the process, because a lot of comedy is some respect. Like when you walk into a comedy club, at least in LA, that was a big thing when I could walk in and people are like, not, hey, who are you, man? You can't, when you don't have to say, oh, I'm a comic, or you do in places and you're let in, which we really should at every comedy club. We should be given food and drink.
I mean, dude, I actually felt like I made it the one time when the first couple times I got booked at a very well-known comedy club. I paid for my own bottle of water. One time I came in, like my third show there, they gave me 2 bottles of water on the house, and I was like, I made it in life.
I know, literally.
I was so excited. I told people about that for days. I was like,
Yeah.
I got the Dasani water.
Yeah, that Dasani, son, that good-ass water.
Once I really make it like Jay Leno, I saw Jay Leno was getting bottles of Voss. He got 4 of them.
Oh, yeah, those glass, they get the nice
I aspire
ones.
to get the Voss bottle. I'm grateful for the Voss bottle, but, I'm happy with the Dasani right now.
Exactly. I'm on a Dasani level with you now, but I'm looking to get to that Voss, that Voss boss level. That's what we call that shit. Excuse me, I just had a little hiccup there. Yeah, that's, but that's the cool thing about this business. There's levels. But again, I think with you, like talking about doing real estate, I always think that's so smart to see other comedians doing things outside of comedy. Because I always say there's this cliche that if you're not just focusing on your comedy, you're not going to make it. And you're like, that's a short-term plan. That's
How do you
not
also
a
get
marathon.
material? Life is about getting material. You have to be doing things. You have to put yourself out there.
Yeah.
Sometimes I go on dates that I know will go badly just because I'm like, this could be great material.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, all the time I have that. It's so great. My kids now provide so much of it, and I'll know when it's happening because, like, my son the other day, my youngest is like, hey, Dad, he's like, so I was inside Mama and came out of her, but I don't understand how is any part of you and me then? Did you drool in Mama's mouth? I was like, yes, this is great. I was like, you don't have to write this shit. It's like right when he said it, I was like, that is so fucking funny. And I'm like, yeah, I spit into her mouth, and that's why you're a spitting image of your father. So it's like, it's fun. I just love comedy like that. I was telling a friend where the truth happens and then we embellish on it, like I have another where my wife switched her gynos. So now she, one of her friends recommended one of her friends. So like, so I'm kind of weird about it, and the guy's handsome, reportedly. So I'm like, great, this guy's gonna have his fingers. Another man will be inside my wife beside myself. But she was talking about inviting the couple over to our house to have dinner. So I'm sitting here like very uncomfortable. Like, how would I have dinner with my wife's gyno? Knowing he's been inside my wife, you know, I'd be like, sir, can you please pass the pussy? I mean, the mashed potatoes. I'm sorry about that. You know, and then my wife's like, oh yeah, I've been having this UTI lately, you know, and he's like, well, you know, if you want, we could probably just go in the bathroom and check it out right now. You know, like, where's the line that you draw with a gyno, you know?
Man.
I don't know.
As long as they solve the problem, right?
As long as you solve the problem. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Could you imagine, though, if at your house, your wife and the gyno are just in the bathroom, and he's checking out, and he's like, yeah, no, everything's good, Sam. You're a lucky guy.
pH is perfectly balanced.
pH, yeah. It was a little off, but I had to balance her pH in the bathroom. I used some of the dish soap. I hope you don't mind.
It's boric acid, man. It's all about the boric acid.
What is boric acid? I like that.
It's a suppository that women can take to balance their pH.
Okay,
Why do I know this?
Yeah.
I worked with a world-renowned gynecologist in helping them buy and sell a home.
Oh, hilarious. You're hilarious, Ashwin. So I'll add that to the joke that the gyno, yeah, I gave her a suppository in the bathroom. She should be good. The pH was a little off, Sam, but if you can smell now, Sam, it's all taken care of. Hey, why don't you pass those mashed potatoes, you know? So I don't know. I don't know where I got off into gynecology, but, you know, thanks for helping me work that bit out, Ashwin.
It's all working out bits.
So have you ever been back to India at all?
I have. I've been to India a few times. I actually have. I'm very Indian in the sense that I am a Indian person that takes all of the jobs. I have many, many jobs. I do the real estate stuff. I have a robot bartender. I consult for a variety.
Back. You have a robot bartender?
I'm an advisor and head of on-premise for Rotender. We're a robotic bartending company backed by Techstars.
Wow, that's amazing, dude. This is so interesting to me. I mean, I love LA because nobody's just into one thing because you can't afford to live in this city.
Dude, you have to have a million hustles. And then I actually sell rocks.
What do you got? You're pulling rocks
out
of your
rocks,
pocket. Jesus,
dude.
Yeah,
man.
Crack rocks, okay.
This is better than crack rocks. This is white girl crack rocks.
Okay. Well, I guess if you're Indian and you're not going to be a doctor, then your parents really expect you to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah, you know, be a pharmacist.
But
what I actually brought for you is a gift. I like to bring a gift first time I hang out with anybody.
Wow.
I have a brand. It's called Intention Crystals.
Okay.
And I bought you a set of Intention Crystals. These are for prosperity and luck.
Oh, my God.
And on the brass beads, they have a logo for the brand and then a logo which is a reminder to you about the intention that you have while wearing it.
Wow.
These stones are imported. They're natural stones from Haridwar.
Wow.
Which is a very spiritual city in India by the river Ganges, and they're natural stones with a propensity to bring you some luck.
Oh my God, which is exactly what I need now. Now, I can just slip it on?
Slip it on, and it matches the shirt. This is a coincidental thing, you know?
This is whoosh,
you got to keep up the Netflix momentum. You know,
I know, that's what I'm
You started
saying.
at Roku, and now you're at Netflix.
Exactly. Well, you know, I'm Amazon Prime. Now I'm moving to Netflix. The Netflix is a Joke Festival on May 10th. But it's not, you know, it's funny. People are like, oh my God, you're on Netflix. I'm like, no, I'm not. You know, my smaller town friends, I'm like, I'm not on Netflix, but it's a good start, you know? And it's actually, what's cool about the Netflix show is, I'm not doing just stand up there. I'm doing a one-man play, which I haven't really told anybody about yet. So it's going to be a bit of a surprise, which will feature all of my talents. It's going to be called Samson Crouppen Stuck in the Basement, where I'm basically stuck in the basement and I need to write myself out of it. And I have an hour because it's my son's graduation, and I decide to shoot my stand-up special within that hour. So my wife's yelling at me backstage and all this, you know, and so the audience is in on, can he finish his special within the hour? So it's going to be kind of a concept album a little bit.
It's also the concept of why no man should ever pay for a dominatrix.
There you go.
Just fold the laundry wrong.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. If you want to get whooped by your wife, that's true. Yeah, and if you want to get no sex from your wife, just don't do shit around the house. That's
No,
the thing.
just forget to pick up the kids at school one time.
Yeah, I don't know how men in the 50s got laid so much because they did nothing, took pride in it, and then somehow their wives still treated them like kings. Where women nowadays, you have to do work around the house. Like if my wife comes home and I'm not fake vacuuming, yeah, I'm not going to get any sex that night at all. The vacuuming gets her horny, I realize.
I mean, housework is the key to a woman's heart.
It is. Like when she pulls up and she hears that,
It's better than a
It's not the
Lamborghini
vibrator.
engine.
That's the vacuum cleaner, But that's how it goes. And so, ASHWIN, so let me think what else I got for you. We've moved on. We hit Playboy. We've hit your. You've gave me some beads. This is the day that's gonna actually change my life, which I appreciate that because I needed some good luck. And then what are yours? So you said you're in your mid-30s now. What is your goal for 5 years from now? So you got your social media up. What is stopping you from being a huge, why are you not touring on your own tour and everything? It seems like you have a big enough social media following for that.
Honestly, I've started to do some shows out of town. I booked a couple of out of town tours. I've been doing it on my own. I set some New Year's intentions this year at the start of it myself, which was number one for me is I need to find a new agent and manager that will work as hard as my Indian mother is working to try and get me married to book me TV shows and movies.
Now, it's funny. I just talked to I did an Indian sketch show yesterday. Shout out to Viraj, a friend of mine. And he was saying that they don't call it arranged marriages anymore. They call it introductions. Are you familiar with that?
It's agenting, man. Indian moms were the original agents.
Yeah, I mean, and I think Jewish moms are known for doing that a little bit. Like, hey, is he a doctor? Is he a lawyer? Marry a nice, And I have a friend who's Indian, and she was actually, kind of like in an arranged type of situation, where that happens. But it's interesting. It's now called an introduction, my friend was saying. And do you know the term rat gay, bot gay?
No.
Really?
Never heard of that one.
That was, it's Jote is the language. My friend, she's from this tribe. I think it's the Jote tribe, but Ratke Batke is like water under the bridge,
Okay.
if we had a disagreement, Ratke Batke, let it go.
Okay.
I like that though, that I know an Indian saying and that you didn't.
Well, we have 256 languages in India. Those are the major ones.
Wow, that's okay. That's a good point. And then do you speak Indian fluently?
I speak Malayalam, which is a South Indian language.
Wow, that's good. Can you teach me how to say hello, how are you in your language?
Hello, endo visheshangal.
Shit. Okay, slow it down and let me do it. What is it?
Endo visheshangal.
You're not giving me anything to really separate that with.
It's tough, yeah.
Jeez, man.
It's all mixed together.
Give me it slow. Give me it piece by piece.
Endoa.
Emboa.
Endoa.
Enthoa.
Vishesham.
Vishisham.
Endo vishesham. That's it.
Endoga visham.
Yeah, close.
Is that?
Yeah.
Give it to me. I just have to watch your lips.
Endo.
Endo.
Vishesham.
Avishisham. Endo avishisham. And I'm watching Ashwin's lips here, guys. We're having a moment here. Alve alvanshisham.
Yeah.
It's hard to keep that together.
It's tough.
Jeez. Okay, that's impressive. Alve alvanshisham.
Get in there.
Do it again.
Endoa.
Endoa. That's the part I'm missing.
Yeah.
Endoa avishisham.
Endo vishesham.
Endoa avishisham. Endoa avishisham. Is that pretty decent?
Pretty decent.
Endoa avishisham. Okay. Am I ready to play an Indian actor and replace Indian actors?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
That's what Hollywood do. They're like, yeah, he said it pretty close. We'll cast him. Sam Creepin, the last Indian, the last samurai.
I mean, as a Jewish person, I feel like that would only be right because we're starting to take a lot of Jewish jobs,
Hilarious.
Tech CEOs.
Yeah.
We took over the World Bank.
That's hilarious. I always find it funny when we were talking about people are so freaked out about like immigrants taking your jobs, and you're like, if an immigrant is taking your job, you might want to get a new job. Like, because what kind of job you're talking about? People who are coming over from a country that are being literally killed. So it's not like they're going straight into being a partner at your law firm. You know what I mean? It's so funny how there's this fear of immigrants when we're all immigrants. You know, there's no way any of us got here without being immigrants, you know?
Same thing with comics talking about social media stars taking away their stage time.
Yeah, exactly. Now, do you find yourself in that? Like, okay, does your social media following translate when you're like, guys, I have a show here tonight? Does that translate to you getting people there?
You still need to promote. I'm going to be honest with you. It does translate in markets that you're not in, but in Los Angeles, where there is a large audience, a lot of my audience is in Los Angeles, I got to tell people, sometimes fans will find out, sometimes one other person will, but it's really cultivating a real fan relationship, which is how do you build up your email list? How do you market? How do you get yourself out there? Because ultimately, if you want to be selling out shows like Dave Chappelle or Bill Burr,
Right.
you got to get that cult fan base, and you got to figure out what are those hooks to get your comedy to that level. And like, that's really my goal right now is humbling myself, going to those audition nights, to be a regular at some of these more prestigious comedy clubs, because it's really, there's no shortcuts to this game.
There really is. Yeah, I mean, the old, you have to pay your dues. I mean, and the hard part about this is nobody tells you, you could figure it out. Like Nick Schwartzen figured out stand-up within a year, and he met Adam Sandler at the Aspen Comedy Festival, and the rest is history. So there's, but also there's something I realized too, being older now and a little wiser in the game, that I'm glad I didn't get it all what I wanted right away, because I would have blown it or lost it all. And so, yeah, it's really is a marathon, you know, because you see people, you'll see people, oh my God, they're getting what I want right now. Oh my gosh, but you just have to be patient, because it's just, everybody has their time.
Also celebrate your friends' successes.
That too.
I love when I see my friends getting stuff, and it's super funny because my messages to people are so positive, and they're like, wait, you're not about to ask me how I did it, or, you know, I'm like, no, if I'm actually your friend, you'll probably just tell me at some point. But
right.
most of the time, I just want to celebrate your win, because we all feel so isolated. You get this big win, and you're like, I'm so excited for this, but all of my friends are only focused on how did I get it and how do they get it for themselves, as opposed to congratulations, I'm so happy for you. And I think that's something that we need more of in our community is celebrate the people you come up with, because the more opportunities your friends get, the more opportunities there are for yourself.
Yeah, I think that's great advice, and I think that's what a lot of people don't realize is it is about celebrating your friends. You know, I think it's like, because I get so much satisfaction about any time I can give a friend a job or call somebody and be like, hey man, I'm gonna put you on my TV show or something like that. Like, there's nothing better than that. And I think a lot of times, people work independently, or like we were talking about earlier, they don't understand, you know, if you're going to be an opportunist, then invest in people. You can't just show up. You know, I would say it's like, you know, you have to plant trees with people. You can't just show up when the trees are fruiting and expect to get the fruit. You know, they're going to be like, no, I want the guy who's over there putting the seeds in the ground with me. And you have to, in this business, you have to kind of identify who those people are, because you can't just invest in everybody, or, you know, you spread yourself thin. So it's about, you know, being able to, like, you know what, when Tiffany Haddish, before she was big, I always had the vision of who she was going to be way before everybody else was. So I recognized that I had that gift to be able to see who was going to kind of do stuff. And like, those are the people you try to invest with, you know.
And you got to be your best self, because authentically, if I put you onto a show that I'm booked for, that's something that's like special to me,
sure,
you have a different point of view than I do.
Right.
You can't inherently take something that's destined for me. I can't take something that's destined for you.
Exactly.
If we're all trying to build our own lane and we all have our own distinctive voices, you get a lot more by collaborating, because I've told friends, I'm like, oh, I have a joke that's similar to yours. This is my note for you on your joke. And then they'll be like, actually, dude, like, this is my note for you on your joke. And you just try it out. We all get better by getting critical feedback. It's not about just everything you said is funny. It's like, hey, restructure this, do something this way. One of the best notes I ever got was making fun of the fact that I have a social media following. When I do a show like that, I'm deeply out of place with, because my fans aren't going to be in like desert towns like Beaumont, California.
Right,
like,
right.
I have 250,000 followers on Instagram, and none of you know who you are. So I'm influencing absolutely no one, and people get a kick out of that.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah, or, you know, it's like you'll be like, okay, guys, it's a lot of pressure, because usually social media comedians are not funny is what they tell me. So, you know, the pressure is on. Yeah, I mean, you know, and at the end of the day, you really have to free your heart of jealousy, of hate, of any of that against people that, you know, it's more, of course, we support our friends, but, you know, you can't let yourself get distracted by maybe people who just, you know, seemingly don't deserve it, somebody would say. You always see somebody like, oh man, you deserve it so much. I really hope, but you will see people every once in a while are kind of assholes and they get ahead, and that's okay because they're assholes. They have to live with themselves as an asshole. You know what I mean? So it's like, do you want to be an asshole?
Plus, how long are people going to want to work with them? If you're an asshole
yeah.
and you might be great, at some point you're going to fall off.
That's what happens. Eventually, your bad behavior outshadows your talent.
And it's also knowing who you are. Like, you're not going to hit every audience. There's certain demographics I'm going to constantly not do well with.
Yeah.
I've realized if I do like random towns and like random small like cities that my lifestyle and my ethnicity and these things might not just translate. And it's like, I can work at those. And I like actually taking shows that I know are going to be tougher for me sometimes because it makes me become a better comic. Like, I've been trying to book on some clean shows because I knew that was a weakness. I got booked originally as a dirty comic coming from the Playboy background, and my lifestyle being a single guy in LA, it leaned dirtier, and that was easy jokes to write at the beginning of my career. But doing jokes about my family, which this isn't necessarily that clean, but like I was at home with my grandmother. She's 82 years old. She's single for the first time in her life for the past year after my grandfather passed away. She asked for help on her cell phone, and I looked over, and their text message came in and said, "Hey, Mercy, we have a yacht rented for this weekend. Would love for you to join us for a party." And she can barely walk, has hearing aids in, and at 82 years old, my grandmother Mercy is doing what 24-year-olds in LA are doing.
She's fucking pimping it, man. That's
She's
amazing.
just getting invited to yacht parties. I'm impressed by Mercy being able to do that.
That's so funny. The guys are saying mercy. That's good. Yeah, I mean, but that's also, too, what's going to set you apart, I mean, talking about getting pussy, young comedians talking about their cell phone bills or just, that's what I realized. Once I got kids, that really gave me more of my voice of what I could relate to. But it is the great challenge, like a Dave Chappelle, Bill Burr, is, how do you connect with audiences? What do you say? It could be one joke, one thing you say where guys are like, dude, when you said that, that was me. Like Nate Bargatze is a great example of a clean comic who people love, and I think because he seems like everybody's Midwest or Southern husband, like that seems like if my husband decided to do stand up, and he's talking about general, the just the things around his house and all that. So it's amazing how you can be doing this for so long and you still haven't quite found your voice yet. It takes so long.
And you got to practice different crafts. Like for me now, it's like getting into some impersonations, doing some characters. These are things that are new to me, like trying to come up with sketches. Right now, I've been doing like character workshops and trying to figure out how to create a good packet for like festivals like JFL and like SNL audition packets. And part of that is really putting yourself into uncomfortable new territory, trying and failing, getting feedback from other people, looking for people to collaborate with, and then also just humbling yourself to get advice. Like one of the things that I've learned is like for me, I was like, I have the following, I book enough roles, I'm comfortable enough on stage. I've learned that comedy isn't about what makes me feel cool about myself, but making that audience feel relatable or connected to me. Is now I ask a lot of comics that have been doing it longer than I have. I have some friends that are massively successful and famous, and I have other friends that are mid-grade, and I have friends that have been like just crushing it on the LA local circuit, and I get unique vantage points from all these different people giving me an honest feedback on what they've done over a cup of coffee or lunch sometimes.
And that's the smartest thing to do is if you can't collaborate, I think unless you're a genius, you're going to have a tough time, because if you can't take critique or advice from somebody who's been doing it longer or is more successful, then you're really cutting yourself short.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I shot with Bob Saget probably about a month and a half before he passed away. And that was Danny Tanner. That was America's Dad. I grew up watching him on TV, and I got to chat with him about comedy and my journey in it. And you'll often find that somebody that is massively successful is not going to view you as competition. They're going to give you genuine advice. Whereas somebody that's like probably a couple years ahead of you or like 6 months ahead of you is going to have that feeling that you might be trying to take something from them. I think really you got to switch that frame point. It was like for me, like when I got into it, it was like, oh, I don't want to tell people how I'm getting booked on some shows. And I'm going to be honest about that at the beginning of my career. It was like, I want to keep that secretive because that's my little like secret of where I can get time.
And it's hard because, I had a comic when I did some shows with Michelle Wolf there right away. Hey, how'd you get that? Like basically like, how the fuck did you get that? And what people don't understand, it's relationships. Like I had to be friends with her for 3 years before the opportunity even came up that I could then get that opportunity. And I think comics a lot of times just assume, oh, I'm hilarious, I'm funny, I can just inbox somebody on Instagram and get booked. And it's like, most people are not going to book you through Instagram a lot of times. You have to have a built-up relationship. And I think that's where, like we're saying, a lot of comics are short-sighted, where they're like, dude, you got to put in the work. You have to work your own relationships, and getting booked is a very sacred thing that, sometimes we keep it close to the hip. Or like you were saying, somebody a few years ahead of us, you're like, hey, man, how do I get this? And like, oh, I don't know. And you're like, and then the veteran will be like, oh, let me introduce you to Danny, or something.
A lot of times it's asking people, being like, hey, I'd love to figure out how to do it. If you reframe it from like, I should be booked there, this is where I need to be at, to this is a goal of mine. Mm-hmm. How do I position myself to get there?
Yeah.
People are much more likely to want to help you. Most people don't want to see people like flounder or fail.
Right.
You got to be willing to take critical feedback. You got to be willing to provide the assets that people want. Like I said, trying to edit stuff usually gives me a bit of anxiety. I hate watching my own tape because I'm like, wow, this thing didn't work. And I remember the first time I got tape back from a club, I was like, the laughs don't sound as good as they do in real life. And then I found out that a lot of people are amplifying the laugh part of the audio track because the mic is only coming from the microphone in the club that you're speaking on.
Well,
it's not picking up an audience.
Yeah, that's a big thing. What I've learned over the years is a lot of these clubs, the tape they're giving you is only of the mic, and there's no audience mic. So generally what I'll do
audio from the fan.
Your cell phone. So what you do is, most comics do this anyway, but we record our set with our cell phone, and that generally gets a really nice audience recording. And then what I'll do is in the edit, I'll just put that underneath. So because the problem with most of these club videos, you can't post the clip because the audience, it's such a low laughter. Even if you're killing it, you wouldn't know. So it's like, I did a show at the Ice House, and it was like that, where I didn't record it. And my whole show, I did a great show, but I couldn't use any of it because there's no audience reaction.
I had a tape, actually. It was super funny because it's like the show felt like it crushed, and I had a big audience reaction. I had tons of people I knew that were in the audience. I had people message me after saying I did a great job. I looked at the tape audio, and I'm like, I bombed.
Right.
Everything was a complete bomb.
That's what it sounds like, but it's just there's no.
And then I watched a clip. I had a friend that filmed it, like it was jankly filmed on like an iPhone from the audience, and they kind of like sneak filmed it. I was like, oh, it did actually crush. It was just the audio was weird.
How much of your set did he record?
Like 70% of it, and then half the set was, excuse me, sir, you cannot film. Excuse me, sir, you cannot film.
Oh, so you can hear that throughout it? I was going to say, because, you could just take that audio and bump it onto your thing, and then, you're good.
Yeah. No, I found like an editing partner recently, and he's like starting to help me like figure out how to edit some of my clips, and then starting to produce a new bi-monthly show over at Beverly Hills at the Ella Comedy Club.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And it's my first foray into producing. My own comedy club. I'm used to producing parties. I produce like hip hop artist parties.
Yeah, same
branded
thing.
Parties, and now it's for something that I'm personally passionate about. It gets me a chance to let friends get some stage time, and then also like discover and connect with other comedians in a positive way.
And it's cool. You might be able to bring a lot of that old audience into the scene to kind of make the scene even cooler.
I think that's a very cool aspect of it. But also, I'm learning by doing this process the bad approaches that people take and the good approaches that people take to getting booked, because I had a person reach out to me and I was looking to book somebody that fit a very specific demographic, and they hit me up on Instagram. They didn't follow me. They didn't engage with me. It was like, you should book me. And that was it. And I'm like, oh, hey, can I see some of your stuff? Nice to meet you.
No, you should book me.
No like conversation whatsoever.
You should book me.
But there was like no pleasantries. I'm like, give me a fake. How are you? How's your week? Like,
yeah.
Make me want to be your friend.
Yeah, comics are fake. You know what I mean? I mean, look, we all have our hidden motives with people. I just personally, I like to be more real about it. Or if I'm going to approach you and try to collaborate with you, well, then I'm going to make it well aware of everything I can bring to the table as well. You know what I mean? I'm not coming empty-handed to a table of, Thanksgiving. I'm bringing a fucking turkey as well, And I think that's the difference. Is a lot of people, they're not bringing anything to the table but expecting to eat. you know?
Well, dude, that's my thing with like social media. I want to get into more sketches. I want to collaborate with actual like comics as opposed to just digital influencers. And like, let's get together. Let's like come up with like 3 or 4 ideas. Let's like just kind of plot out the story beats and then write it out and then shoot it. And people are like, we should just like meet up once and just shoot it and then like it'll just do well. And I'm like, that's not necessarily the truth with social media. It's a gamble. You got to shoot it and edit it a couple different ways, and
it's
trial and
consistency
error.
too.
Yeah.
You know, you can't just expect to shoot one sketch and be like, what happened? Why didn't we go viral? It's like, no, you have to shoot 10 sketches and then release it once a week. And then I'd be like, oh my God, your guys' sketches are but it takes a lot of commitment. You know, that's why people want to just film themselves, because a sketch you have to write, you have to shoot, you have to have props, you have to have a set. You know, there's a lot more that goes into it. But
well, dude, I mean, one thing I was going to talk to you after the thing, but one thing I'm actually thinking about doing right now is as an influencer, I had groups of friends that had different niches or similar niches, and we'd promote each other's content. When I had a video come out, they'd share it to their audiences. I'm trying to figure out a way to do that with other comics. Is the way that we all build audiences is we're not going to hit every fan for every single comic. But if we can find groupings of people that have different audiences and different segments, you can kind of cross-pollinate or find ways to get people into different markets that they haven't been able to do.
Yeah.
And I think that will kind of go back to an older day in comedy where people try to take people on the road with them or try and like support things and like just doing it yourself. I think a lot of times you got to humble yourself to that level of like, hey, I'm going to do this for somebody because I genuinely just want to make someone's life easier than it was for me. And I had a comic ask me, they're like, hey, every show I'm getting stuck on is somebody trying to get me to sell 10 tickets. And I'm like, I don't think that's necessarily a fair expectation. If they're taking your time away, if you're not selling 10 tickets every show.
No, that's not right.
That's not right that you're being used. But like, I think the fact that you've been able to do that shows a tremendous amount of volume on your character. And like, let's like chat about what you're doing and let's work on your pitch and see what you can do to make that better so that you can get on better shows. And I think part of it is also humbling yourself to do some of those bad shows and bad clubs and building up that audience list and then finding other places that you can get booked at.
No, absolutely. It's all about that email list at the end of the day, you know, and getting those fans. So, Ashwin, let's see. Usually I try to prank somebody on the show. So do you have anybody that you would maybe want to call that we could prank here? I'll prank them. You know, sometimes I call and ask people. I say, calling on behalf of Ashwin Jacobs for some money that you owe or something like that. Is there somebody like maybe a crazy aunt we can call who'd be like, you know, get a little feisty?
Oh, probably not. My people would get mad, man. They're from Boston.
Oh, that's good.
They'll bury somebody.
That's good. But is there somebody we can call that will try to bury me and that we can prank?
Oh, probably not, man. Not with their criminal records.
No. You don't have anybody? Do you want to attempt a prank call, or I
don't really have a prank phone call person.
No? Okay.
I do my prank phone calls with telemarketers usually.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I love pranking telemarketers. That's my favorite thing to do.
My recent one was I had a guy try and sell me on vacation for 2 to Vegas.
Okay.
Told him my wife was in jail for the next 4 years, and it was a 3-year thing. He's like, well, I have a singles package for Vegas. And I'm like, I'm actually on house arrest for aiding and abetting a felon for the next like 4 years. And he's like, well, it's good for 5 years for the singles package. And
he's still working it, yeah.
Still working it. And I'm like, dude, honestly, I can't do another day of house arrest. While you're talking to me, I got a scissor pair out and I'm an hour and a half away from the border to Tijuana. And I'm thinking to start a new life in Mexico. He's like, well, sir, you're in luck. For the next 2 years, we have 7 days all-inclusive in Cabo, Mexico.
Oh, man, he had you covered. That's hilarious. I had a guy who called me recently. You know, they asked if I want some money, and I'm like, well, you know, I've my kill room in my basement. I'm looking to upgrade some of my like weaponry and some of the chains. You know, I have a few kids in cages, so I'm definitely gonna need to invest in better cages that are soundproof because like, oh, there's screams at night, just totally. And then finally the guy clicks, you know, and hangs up on you.
That's hilarious.
But that's fun. So Ashwin, tell people where they can find you on social media so we can quadruple your following overnight.
That would be amazing. I'm Ashwin Jacob, ASHWIN JACOB on Instagram, X, and YouTube. That's also my Venmo name. My Cash App name is Ashwin327. I'm trying to be a Venmo Cash App influencer. I feel like that'd be a little bit more lucrative.
I mean, honestly, if you could get everybody to give you $1, that's a lot smarter. Yeah, mine is at Samson Crouppen Cash App. All my YouTubes, Instagrams, TikTok, catch me on TikTok. Trying to build my following before they ban it. But yeah, this has been great. Thank you so much, ASHWIN, for coming today and giving me your time. And we will see you next time, guys. That's been another episode of Samson's World.
Look, Mom and Dad, I'm on TV.